Welcome to the Lose Weight, Live Life podcast. If you're someone who would do anything to lose weight, yet finds it impossible to stick to a diet, to eat less, or just what you think you should, this podcast is for you. I am your host, certified life and weight mindset coach Claire MACKENZIE. Listen in to learn how to stop overeating, lose weight for the last time, and create a relationship with food and yourself that you love, all without diet deprivation and self-sabotage. Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to podcast episode number 108. I am thrilled to have a guest on the show today and to be talking about something a little different than usual. Today I am talking to Small Animal Veterinarian and Life and Weight Coach, Dr. Nadina Cojocaru, and we're talking all things cats, dogs, weight loss, and emotional feeding and emotional eating. And the question that I would like you to consider if you're a pet owner is, are you emotionally feeding your pet? Something for you to be curious about. And actually, even if you're not a pet owner, I encourage you to listen into this episode as we also talk about general weight loss as well. And you may even want to consider whether there are people in your life who you may be including in your emotional relationship with food without, of course, you realizing it. Listen in to find out more. Okay, hi everybody. Very pleased to welcome Nadina Cojocaru on this podcast episode. Nadina is a small animal veterinarian and a certified life and weight loss coach. So Nadina, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm really excited to be talking to you about your new program, which we will tell everybody about in just a moment. But for right now, would you just like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Thank you for having me. I am so delighted to be here with you. And I met you while we went through coach certification together in 2018. It was quite an amazing journey for both of us. And I am born and raised in Romania, and I am currently living in Sweden. We moved here for almost 12 years ago to work as a small animal veterinarian. If my Swedish journey wouldn't happen, I would be in the UK. It was like I was almost at my wit's end with help, with waiting to move to Sweden. And then it happened. Some planets might have aligned or something in the skies. So I moved to Sweden to work as a veterinarian. And I worked throughout my career in different types of clinic environments, like small clinics or where I was the only vet, or two vets clinics, or big hospitals where I helped building the emergency department. And we started in a hospital with 20 employees and we grew it. When I let go of that hospital, we were like 70 something employees, one of the biggest emergency department in our area. And then during this journey, I noticed that there is something different about myself, or between myself and my colleagues who suffered a lot of burnout, a lot of work-related stress. And I worked a lot, especially after moving here to build the emergency room department, or the emergency department at that hospital. And I've noticed that people told me like, oh, you cannot work that much. You will get burnout. It's not sustainable. What are you doing? And all those things. And I was like, no, I'm not. And no, I won't be burnout. And I realized later on that the only difference between myself and other colleagues was the way I was thinking about my job, about my relationship with the animals, with the pet owners, even with the clinic or the hospital's management. And that was really clear for me after I discovered the Life Coach School podcast. It was like the missing piece that completed the puzzle.
So as Nadina alluded, we first met in 2018 in life coach training in Texas in the US, which has been an amazing experience, an amazing journey. So just sort of, you were saying there, were you aware of your mindset being different to some of your colleagues after the training, or was it that it was naturally different and then you were just able to understand what was going on for you after you were trained as a life coach?
I just knew that something was different, and to explain a little bit my journey to become life coach or a weight loss coach, especially, I struggled with my weight my whole life. and losing, gaining. I was like, I think I have a PhD in dieting or something like that from the age of 14. And I was searching for the next thing, let's count calories, let's eat just 2 apples every day, and all those
crazy
diets and body image things, like, okay, I'm tall, so I must be a supermodel, but I'm not 90, 60, 90, even if I'm skinny and I'm not eating any food. So all those shenanigans. So that was my journey, searching for some new diets or healthy recipes, food recipes on YouTube. And then I crossed upon a YouTube channel with a lot of delicious foods. Mm-hmm. And then that lady mentioned that she was a life coach through the life coach school.
Yeah.
And I remember like I was moaning my load. It was quite late. It was, Swedish nights during the summer are quite long. And I remember the exact spot where I was in my yard during that thing, listening to the podcast. And my mind just exploded because Brooke Castillo said, oh, your thoughts create your emotions and your emotions drive your actions. And I'm like, what? That's the explanation.
Yeah.
That's why I don't feel burnout. That's why my experience of my life, my relationships, or my work, it's so different than my colleagues, because I'm thinking differently about the same circumstances, Yes. 20 people waiting in the ER. Oh my God, we are under attack, and all those kinds of things. Oh, the management has to do something. And I was like, oh, giddy, let's do it. Let's go through them and just take energy and become more energized by being able to help so many people. So that was the difference. In that moment, I've realized, oh my God, that's the thing. The way we think influences everything in our lives. So from that moment on, I started to follow the podcast and basically started this life coaching journey and joined the coach certification training in 2018, because I wanted to help other colleagues to have a different experience with their jobs and to feel great in their bodies and to heal their relationship with their bodies, with their jobs, because it's not so funny currently in our profession. There is a lot of burnout, there is a lot of suicide ideation, we are one of the professions with the highest suicide rate in the world. So It's a big problem. And a lot of those problems come from the relationship that we have with ourselves, with our profession, and with the pet owners, for sure. Yes.
And in terms of, a lot of the listeners of the Lose Weight, Live Life podcast are all on their sort of weight loss journeys to creating the relationship with food that they want. Any tips, any advice? What are your favorite thoughts? What are your mindset shifts? Anything that you would like to share as an example of what works for you? Because it's all about what we find within ourselves.
Yeah, I think, and the neuroscience is there. The way our brains work to have a sustainable weight loss journey or to have a sustainable change of any habit is to root it into self-love and self-acceptance.
Yeah.
So as I said, the neuroscience is there, how our brains are wired. And the moment we start to love ourselves and the way our bodies look like right now, it will build that respect for ourselves, for our bodies. And everything is easy after that, I think, because if I accept my body, I won't harm her, or I will make a pact, I was just discussing with somebody recently, and they asked me why I stopped drinking alcohol. And I was never a heavy drinker. I was never blacking out or really, really heavy drinking, but I was drinking a lot. So I was drinking more than for sure. Even, after a hard day at our jobs, there is a meme that I currently hate a little bit because it's like our profession, the vet profession. Start your journey with your fuel for the morning is coffee, the fuel for the afternoon is wine or booze in general, So I don't like that, but I've used alcohol as well as a tool for taking the edge off and all those kind of thoughts that a lot of us who are over drinking have at some point. So the moment I understood how alcohol affects my body, I was like, that's a no. We're not doing that anymore. And don't get me wrong, I had the social part attached to the wine or to the alcohol. I found out that I'm a natural in tasting wines or I was to a really fancy champagne tasting, and we were supposed to write on a piece of paper all the flavors, the first flavor. And I was like, all of them were on point. And the lady was like, oh, how long have you been doing that? I was like, that's my first time. So there was this social, glamorous thing of having cocktails, having nice wines or nice whiskey or scotch or whatever, brandy, whatever.
Yes.
But the moment I deeply started to accept and love my body as she is, I couldn't do it and anymore. It was like a hard no for me. And everything else fell into the same pattern. So if I allow myself to notice how my body reacts to some foods or to some combinations of foods, then I know and I won't do that again,
Yes.
And that is like the macro vision, but that applies to every single step that I take every day. So it's not just a big fluff, of, oh, I love my body and I accept my body. It's just, okay, what feels great in my body today? And that is what enters my body. And I don't like feeling stuffed or, when we overeat and we eat too much, that sensation I prefer hunger to be as a sensation in my body than to be stuffed, to feel that heaviness that lingers for a few days in a row. And that is not how I'm treating my body anymore. So that respect for my body is reflected in the way I treat my body every day. Yes. So it's all about our thoughts or our vision about the foods that we are choosing. Even if, on our food plan, or even if we don't have a written food plan anymore or whatever, it's how will that feel in my body? And that's a no or a yes for me. And sometimes I make pacts, with my body, like, okay, it's a popcorn evening, because sometimes I'm having dinners with just popcorn. And I know that I will feel a little bit strange in my body after eating popcorn, even if I'm making it by myself with like organic coconut oil and my favorite type of popcorn. But it's not my body's preference to have a dinner just with popcorn, but it feels great in my mouth. So sometimes we make this pact, like, okay, body, we will feel a little bit strange tomorrow. It's okay. So it sounds kind of silly, but I have a dialogue with my body a lot.
No, I think that's great. And so the three things I'm taking away from that are, so absolutely unconditional self-love. And I often talk about how you have to love yourself first. It's not about thinking you love and appreciate yourself when you're the weight you are. You have to love yourself the weight you are now. I think the other thing I picked up on what you said was being like sort of aware and educated about the effects of certain foods and drinks on your body. And then the third one, in terms of, there's always going to be a little bit of balance there. So it's sort of understanding, I guess, making a choice that you really want to make.
Yes.
Weighing up the pros and cons and really having that choice and knowing that you're always in control of that and you always get to choose.
Yes.
And so that brings me on to the reason that I reached out to you is because I heard about your new course, which is for owners of overweight cats and dogs, and also possibly for other vets. You have to tell me a bit more about that.
Yes.
So tell me more about your new program, which is all about how to stop emotionally feeding your pets.
Yes. I've noticed a pattern. So being a vet and then knowing how our brains work as a life coach, I've noticed this pattern over and over and over again, even in my clients who are veterinarians. So the first is, and it's quite revealing for a weight loss coach as well. So there are different dynamics of overweight pet owners, overweight pets, normal weight pet owners, really overweight pets, or all kinds of combinations of pets. And I can see immediately when they enter my vet clinic what is going on in that dynamic, from the way they interact with each other or how they react to the idea that their pets are overweight. And the problem is, from weight loss coach perspective, I know how much internalized oppression and discrimination there is against overweight human bodies.
Yeah.
There are studies, this is scientifically proven, that if you live in an overweight human body, you will get discriminated. You will get less praises. You will, even if people are not aware of that, it's not intentional, but we are absorbing since infancy. We are floating in an ocean of biased opinions about overweight bodies. So I don't even want to start with Disney cartoons or Disney movies where all the princesses are so, unnaturally thin and all the villains are overweight people. And so let's not go there, because I will rant a lot about that. But that is a reality.
Yes.
So we live in a world that is biased against overweight human bodies. And we know as humans, or the vast majority of humans who live in overweight bodies, know how much they suffered to try to lose weight. And they know that is, or they think they know that, oh, it's not working. No matter what I'm doing, it's not working. When you are not doing it, as I said, rooted in love and self-love, and without knowing how our brains work, how our brain habits are changed and so on. So they know as pet owners that, or they believe, that is their current belief, that it's really impossible to permanently lose weight. Or if you are doing it, you will suffer. And it's painful, which is not our experience as weight coaches. Not mine and not Claire's experience either. We are not doing it like that. And the moment you open your mouth and say something like, your pet is overweight, or we have to do something about your pet's weight, the vast majority of people go in stress response or trauma response. They go into fight, flight, fawn, or freeze response, which are normal stress responses from our nervous system. So depending on how your brain is wired, you will go into a sympathetic nervous system response, which is fight or flight, or in parasympathetic nervous system, which is fawn or freeze. That is normal. So no matter which one of those stress responses get triggered in your body, even if you are angry, you go towards anger or to flight from, or you are fawning or freezing, the main thing is you will block the information. You will get angry, you will want to fight, you will have those kind of thoughts like, oh, that was mean, the vet wanted to shame my pet. Oh, they are shaming me, or all those kinds of things, And if we don't know that that is going to happen, and that is because of all that internalized oppression and all our beliefs, and that those responses are normal, we tend to block every information that comes after that without acknowledging that there might be something about that information that might be useful for Fluffy. Let's call our pet Fluffy. And by the way, Fluffy exists, and it was I think 60 kilograms Rottweiler. You wouldn't expect a Fluffy. You would expect a Maltese or something. No, it was a 60 kilograms Rottweiler Fluffy.
Brilliant.
So the moment we go into that kind of stress response and we are blocking the information, we cut the communication with the vet team, and we don't help Fluffy lose weight. So I think that is adamant for everybody to know about how our brains and how our bodies are wired with our brains, and that those responses are happening. No matter how we sugarcoat the information, we will feel shamed.
Yes. And I can relate to that from taking my own dogs to the vet, not necessarily from an overweight perspective, but just from, are they sort of in a good enough condition? Have I been taking care of them well enough? Like, the dog needs to go on the scales. It's like, is she underweight? Is she overweight? Do you have to and so I can really relate to, I know for me, it would always be shame. Wouldn't necessarily think that the shame, I'm being shamed by my vet, but I can recognize within myself straight away those feelings of shame. which
Yes.
of course could relate to having gone to the doctors myself previously.
Yes,
And
of course.
also having concerns about getting on the scales and being overweight.
Yes.
So it's just fascinating. It really is.
Yes, it is really fascinating. So that is why this course is important for veterinarians as well, to just know a little bit about how our brains work, how to communicate with their pet owners in a more humane or deeper level.
Yes.
And I think the problem with the vet profession is that we usually don't have time that is a really, really, really delicate conversation. And from my experience, this is one of the longest appointments that I usually have as a veterinarian. It usually takes 30 to 45 minutes.
Yes.
To slowly and kindly address this problem. And after becoming a life coach myself, or a weight coach myself, I mean, I'm like a ninja with helping my pet owners with their pets losing weight, because I know how to approach that without the shaming or the blaming, to know how to discuss with them about that issue, which is one of the biggest or painful experiences of pet owners coming to the vet.
Yes.
And another aspect that I've noticed, going beyond that first layer of stress response in our bodies, the other thing is, if you are currently or have lost your weight, or you are in a weight loss journey yourself, you might have thoughts about your food. For instance, I have pet owners who have this thought or this idea, oh, at least Fluffy can eat whatever he likes.
Right.
That says a lot about your food plan.
Yes.
And the way you think about your food plan. Are you not allowed, quote unquote, by your restrictive diet to eat whatever you like?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's, if you have this thought, at least Fluffy can eat whatever he likes, that says a lot about how. Yes. And I see our pets, especially dogs, but even cats, as a mirror. They are they are reflecting back to us our thoughts, our emotions, and if you are finding yourself having that thought, it's an interesting awareness. Why am I thinking that about Fluffy? Because, by the way, they don't care what they are eating. It's they don't feel emotions in that way that we think they feel. They don't feel shame, in that all those complex emotions, those are not necessarily available for pets. They are living in here and now. They don't have that prefrontal cortex to plan. They might mirror your current state. So if you are angry, and that might happen, by the way, in a vet clinic, if your dog is feeling your anger towards the vet, they might become really aggressive towards the vet. Right. Even if you are not expressing that.
Yes.
Or even if we as humans, we don't pick up those things, your dog is your mirror. They can read, there are mirroring neurons in our brains, and they are picking up the emotions. They are not thinking, but they are the energy of our emotions. They can read that. Yes. The true emotions. The kids are doing the same, by the way. Young kids have the ability of picking up our emotions from the adults. It's a survival mechanism. So when we think and in that way about Fluffy's food, then it's quite interesting to reflect upon, why do I think that I am not allowed to eat whatever I want? Because you actually are, and I'm sure that Claire has talked a lot about how to plan and how to, that there are now no bad foods, or, all those shenanigans, like bad foods or not allowed foods, and so on and so on. So it's quite interesting. We are living vicariously somehow through our pets, and we are continuing overfeeding them because we have some unexplored thoughts about our way of eating.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. I think I possibly thought about it that maybe a lot of overfeeding was coming from maybe being seen as an expression of love. And so I was curious about that, without sort of seeing what the negative impacts might be on a pet's health. It feels like you're being very, very loving. And again, we can probably relate that sometimes to our own relationship with food, in terms of thoughts about treating and rewarding ourselves.
Yes,
I think there's
exactly.
some similarities we can draw there as well.
Yep. Yes.
So yes, I
Yeah.
guess everything
Yes.
should stay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I usually tell my pet owners that when we discuss and we come together to the conclusion what is Fluffy's best food, or how to feed Fluffy, and I always tell them, okay, you have the daily portion of the food, and everything that goes in Fluffy's mouth comes from that jar. And if it's like wet food, it comes from the container of the wet food. And Fluffy is getting food from the jar, from Fluffy's daily portion, a lot of fresh water, kisses and hugs, and Fluffy is allowed to breathe, because breathing never made us gain weight, and they're like, what? What are you saying? It's allowed to breathe? Yeah, because, all those other questions are coming, like, oh, how about cucumbers? Or how about bell peppers? But how about some broccoli, And I was like, no, let's put those to the side and just give Fluffy the best food that is promoting weight loss or a healthy body. And a lot of kisses and hugs, because there are studies who show that there is a oxytocin secretion is happening both in our brains and in Fluffy's body. Yeah. So we feel connected, and we need that connection with our pets. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when the pets are the only living, breathing beings around us, those pets are really, really important for our mental well-being. Yeah. And that is provided through hugs or a body interaction with your pets, yes. Not necessarily through food. And I don't know if you know about the 6-26 rule, 6 to prolong your life.
Right. No.
You need a daily dose of 6-second long kiss.
Yes.
20-second long hug, and 6 minutes of cuddling daily.
Very good.
And that prolongs our life tremendously. Yes. And you can get those through an interaction with your pet as well, not necessarily with another human being. Yes. So if you are thinking about, 6-second kiss, it's a freaking long kiss. If you don't like that person, you are just try it, play with it. Don't kiss your cat or dog if they are not willing to do it. Because some of them might not be interested in that kind of interaction. I have 2 cats, and they are like so different about that. One of them is like, no, let me out of, no, don't do that, and the other is like, oh my God, you're kissing. The moment we are starting to make the kissing sound, even if she is deeply asleep, she's like, me though, I want to kiss. It's like bananas. Yeah. So they are really different as well, but you can express your love. And I'm talking about that in the course. Dogs we think that they need just, some food and that's it, or sleep, but they need social interaction as well. So they have like 5 natural healthy behaviors, and sleep and eating are just 2 of them. They have to be able to play by themselves. They have to be able to play with other dogs or other animals in general, to run freely and to go on walks. Yes. And by just providing them with food, we are just addressing 1 from 5 behaviors, natural, healthy behaviors that they are supposed to experience in order to have a fulfilled dog life, And if we are focusing just on food, we are creating that vicious cycle of overfeeding them and depriving them from the other healthy behaviors, because it breaks my heart to see those really overweight dogs just barely going, behind their pet owners, dragging their feet with that dolly expression on their faces. Those are not happy dogs, no matter how much they are wiggling their tails when you give them food. They are supposed to do that, but their natural healthy behavior involves a lot of playing, to run freely, of course, in a supervised environment, to use their brains as well, to play games, and so on and so on. The same is true for cats. They are supposed to climb, they are supposed to hide, they are supposed to hunt They are supposed to scratch, and we are not even seeing those cats. At least the dogs are getting out somehow with their pet owners, but I think cats are so misunderstood and sometimes overlooked, because if you are not taking your dog or your cat at least once every year to your vet to get them checked, or to receive that feedback about exactly how you said, Claire, is like, yeah, it's not something that we are not looking after mistakes, or, oh, you are not a good pet owner. Of course you're a good pet owner if you came with your dog or with your cat to be checked. So cats are we don't see them. They are suffering in silence. Nobody sees them. Nobody understands what they are looking, or what they are going through, and how they look like. And there is a lot of, as I said, a lot of joy and natural healthy behaviors that needs to be fulfilled on top of just feeding and sleeping. Yeah, for sure.
Talking about cats, I did ask within the Lose Weight Live Life community if anyone had any questions. I shared I would be talking, and a couple of questions came back, and they were both about cats, actually. So if I just read those out, are you happy for me to read those out to you and see if you've got any advice for the cat owners? So the first question was from Elaine, who has got a 9-year-old rescued cat, a tabby, and she or he was put on Royal Canin, dry and wet food by her vet about a year ago, and he needs to lose some weight. They said it would help with him constantly being hungry, but it hasn't. She says every time one of them moves even near the kitchen, he almost trips us up, constantly meowing and wanting food. She says, as we don't know his history, I don't know if he's maybe had issues with food or lack of it before she got him. So she says he basically bullies us for food, but he's a lovely boy. Any help would be appreciated.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't get from the question if the cat lost some weight or not.
I think it sounds like if he has lost some, he maybe has more to lose. She also says he gets a wet pouch in the morning and about 45 grams of dry food throughout the day in 4 sittings. But she said he's barely lost any weight.
Yes. Yep. Yes. So that's the thing that I'm addressing in the course as well. Just because a cat or a dog do that thing, that behavior, doesn't necessarily mean that they are hungry. It's just the thing that they trained us. They do a behavior.
Yes.
Expect a response from us. We usually give them food every time this happens.
Yes.
And then, of course, that will reinforce that neural pathway of continuing that kind of behavior because it was fulfilled, And I give you the example in the course with my own cat, the kissing cat. And if she does that, or she was doing it a lot as a kitten, jumping on our table while we were eating, and I decided with my husband that we don't want that behavior to be happening. So we used something that is not harmful for her. For instance, offering her a slice of lemon. So for us, it was quite hard because she likes a lot of food. She tastes everything and is really interested in all foods.
Yes.
But that did the trick. So if she was jumping on the table, we just offered her a slice of lemon, and she smelled it and we're like, oh no, I don't want that, And then she stopped the behavior. So It took us a while.
Yes.
So you have to be consistent with, like any habit, even with your kids, or you have to be consistent and sometimes not offering them that food.
Yes.
And as I say in the course, cats are really hard because they are not allowed to lose weight too fast. So I wouldn't be discouraged if the cat hasn't lost any weight. I even have a little spreadsheet in the course, both in pounds and in kilograms, how much weight is a cat or a dog allowed to, the max amount of weight that they are allowed to lose per week.
Yes.
And especially for cats is 0.5% of their current body weight, which is like tiny amount every week. I encourage them to weigh their cats every week for sure. And if the cat is not losing weight, you use that chart. I suppose that amount of food was recommended by your vet. So if you use the recommended food and you do all the things, you are strictly weighing the food. It's really, really important. Royal Canin did a gorgeous study in all the Scandinavian countries. They took all the vet nurses in all the clinics that were willing to participate in that study, and they did the study throughout a year. And they, you know how you have that cup and you are weighing the food, and then you are drawing a line on the cup, and then you are measuring the food with the cup.
Yes.
They proved with that study that if we are using this method, the amount of error in actually food that the pet receives is plus minus 30% of their daily portion. Yes. So Royal Canin stopped recommending to measure it with a cup. They recommend actually weighing the food every single day. And that is what I recommend as well. Yes. And imagine that those were not pet owners. Those were veterinary professionals knowing that they are part of a study, so double or triple awareness about what they are doing, and they still got it wrong with a lot of food, plus minus 30% is a lot of food. Yes. So it might be not necessarily that your cat is hungry anymore. It's just a behavior. It's a learned behavior. If they are meowing or are doing that kind of thing, they will receive food. Yes. So it's a little bit up to you. I usually tell my pet owners to disencourage this kind of behavior, not doing it, not give them satisfaction of receiving that thing. Yes. And in approximately 1 week or 2 weeks, the behavior will fade away, and they will learn the new feeding time. If you are doing all the things by the book, you are feeding the cat with the amount of food that is recommended by the vet, and they are still not losing weight for 4 weeks, I would consider lowering the amount of food, or sometimes to switch to another food brand. Okay. Some of the cats are losing weight only if they eat wet food. They are not a really nice protein-based wet food that will give them volume. Mm-hmm. But be really aware if your cat is eating or not. It's really hard to switch the foods and to watch for too rapid weight loss. Don't get really excited about too rapid weight loss, because that might mean that your cat is not eating enough. Right. So that's why I recommend in the course, that is like the first awareness thing. Weigh your cat or dog every week to know if they get enough food. If they are losing weight too fast, you have to increase the amount of food or to do something about it. As I said, 0.5% body weight per week for cats, and 1% body weight per week for dogs. The scientific studies say 0.5% to 2% body weight per week for cats, or 1 to 2.5% body weight for dogs. Mm-hmm. I keep myself on the lowest recommended weight loss, because especially if you are not doing it with a vet involved, and you are not keeping a close contact through emails or stuff like that with your veterinarian, I would for sure recommend the lowest body weight loss, losing percentage of body weight per week to be to the lowest percentages. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. I've got one more question just quickly. Irene said that her cat Snuggles needs to weight. She says, same as I do, but she doesn't like going outside much because of the cold weather. How can I persuade her to go out and be more active?
Not all cats want to go out, and some of the cats are actually suffering when they are going out. They get stressed, so it's not a preferred thing for all the cats. So what you can do inside is to try to activate your cat daily. And I say in the course, start with 1 minute every day. Mm-hmm. Just move some things around, so you will probably move the food bowl or make some adjustments at home, like see what your cat likes. For instance, some of them are really happy with chasing a laser throughout the house.
Yeah.
Some studies say that they are actually getting frustrated about the laser point. So now there are some really nice tools that have some feathers and some laser point, so you can point the laser on the feathers that you are playing with. So they actually catch something, because they get frustrated. They are chasing the laser point,
Yes.
and then they don't get anything. They don't get what is that and why they are not able to catch it. And I can say from my personal experience, some of the cats are not impressed by the feathers. They just want to chase that laser point. And some of them don't want the laser point, just want the feathers. But I would recommend to be more inclusive about your cat and to see what your cat actually wants.
Yeah.
To start with a toy that has both a laser and some feathers, and then to try to move with that around the house and see what's happening. Another thing that is really, really important is get your cat or your dog checked by the vet, because unwillingness to move in general might mean chronic pain.
Right. Yes.
And there are so many amazing modalities right now to treat chronic pain in both cats and dogs. I don't know if you have available in the UK Solensia and Librela, which are some really fancy new medicines against arthritis and chronic pain.
Right.
And that don't have any side effects. You can use them with chronic kidney failure and all those shenanigans, or kidney or liver disease, and so on and so on. So ask your vet to check your cat or dog for sure, to see if they are in pain or not, because it creates that vicious cycle of not moving, just eating, and then gaining weight, and then not moving. And it might be pain related.
Yes.
We've had a lot of pet owners who said, "Oh my God, I wasn't aware that my cat was in such a pain until I gave the cat Solensia, that new medicine. I now see the difference, how my cat is moving." And just be open to the idea that assessing pain, especially chronic pain in dogs and cats are even worse than dogs, it's really hard, even for vet professionals. But have your cat checked, and you can have a lot of fun activities inside the house. As I said, don't overwhelm yourself or your cat. Start with 1 minute every day, and then increase it to 2 minutes, and then 3 minutes, and check the weight to see how it goes. If it's not working with the brand that you are currently using, try to switch brands. Don't be open-minded. I know that some of my colleagues might be a little bit righteous about what they think it's appropriate to feed our dogs and cats. I am more open-minded about that, in the regard that if it's not working, it's the same with the diets, by the way, Claire. What works for me doesn't work for you. Why should I treat my pets differently? Just because I know that that brand or that brand worked for the most of my pets doesn't mean that I won't have those pets that need something else. Yeah. So I'm open-minded, and if they are still not losing weight after 4 weeks, I will for sure switch the brand.
Okay. All right. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So I really appreciate you being on here. So thank you so much. How can listeners find out more about your program or follow you? Where should they go to find out more about you?
So I am, because of my surname, I don't use my name on social media, just on my private Facebook or Instagram pages. I'm Nadina Cojocaru on them, but my business page is at Vet Coach International. Because I'm a vet, I'm a coach, and I'm pretty international right now. I've worked with vets from over 20 countries by now, and still counting. Yeah. And they can find me. My website is www.vetcoachinternational.com.
Brilliant. And I'll put those links in the show notes as well for people.
And they can find the training there, the course there. And it's really practical. It has all those things inside about how to communicate with your vet team, what to look after, how to know when to let go and to find another team, of vets of vet professionals that you can communicate with, because you need to feel loved, understood, appreciated, because you are one important member of the team that takes care of your pet. You have exclusive access to all the knowledge that there is about your pet, for sure. And you should be included, and to feel included and listened. Yeah. And to just be open to communicate with your vet team, for sure.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. It's
Brilliant.
so fun.
Thank you.
So fun.
Thank you. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and are ready to live a more intentional life, lose weight as a part of that journey, and create a relationship with food and yourself that you love, then I would be honoured to have you join the Lose Weight Live Life Academy membership and coach with me. The programme offers different levels of support to suit you, including self-paced learning, twice weekly calls, private coaching, an amazingly caring community, and lots more. Find out all the details about when and how you can join at www.thebestyou.coach/coaching.